Show me the money.
Just looking good, but I think I'm taking too long.
Back to the spot for a Glock. I took a loss over floss, but still got a knock.
Money! Oh, Jerry! Does that make you feel good just to say that?
All right, show me the money. March Madness edition is here. Getting ready to give you a March Madness betting preview. Join me today. It's a big college basketball fan and big friend of the podcast. Martino Puccio is here. Martino, how are you?
I think this is the worst March. I'd rather have just not had a tournament, honestly. It's just like I'm obviously a big Duke fan, as it's noted, but for me, this whole year was about Iona. And that could not have been more disappointing. I'll be honest with you. Like, I've seen Duke lose in the first round of said tournaments to Lehigh's, the Mercers. I think Iona losing was probably my most haunting March Madness memory, probably since we lost to Manhattan almost 7-8 years ago. I want to say it might have been my sophomore year. So yeah, I mean, that just real gut punch and a letdown, especially with the way the end of the season has been going for both of my college basketball teams. So like just really spiraling out of control after they both look like to be in great shape all season long.
Yeah, I mean, as far as Iona goes, I mean, they lost the first game. Bad performance down the stretch. They were not going to make it. To me, like, losing the quarterfinal of a conference tournament, even when you're favored to win, is not as bad as blowing the big lead they did against BYU back in the first four in 2012.
It's I mean, I guess it's all about relative to expectations, because if someone said to you, all right, like, here we are with Iona, and prior to the BYU game they lost, then you'd be like, okay, yeah, that's understandable. But the way in which it went down is miserable. But there's no way you could have ever convinced me, hey, we're going to go into a quarterfinal in the MAC tournament and lose right away. Like, there's no way to angle it that would make anyone feel good about it or okay to sleep at night. To me, it's one of the worst losses in program history. And quite honestly, I think it's easily the worst in years in MAC tournament terms. Easily. It's not even close.
Yeah, well, I mean, Iona is not there. Let's talk about some of the teams that are there. The bracket came out last night. I did a big breakdown earlier in the show with Troy Morio, into the whole thing, all the ins and outs of it. And I took out the betting angle here. So in terms of betting this turn, what's your general strategy right
now? Listen, I don't think there is a strategy to it. I've been going like months. I've been looking at this for team futures. If we just stick with the national champion, I guess, first, right? So for me, and it's funnier because we do without New York colleges. So good thing we don't have to really worry about Syracuse or St. John's. So to me, there's a lack of trust with Gonzaga. They're one of these teams. When I was having this conversation with a coworker on Friday, and I was just saying, there's certain times when there's programs or franchises or clubs in any sport where they're kind of bursting onto the scene. They're really great regular season wise. They make a name for themselves, and they kind of come up short come tournament time or postseason time. And you're like, okay, maybe it's a learning experience. And with Gonzaga, for me, and they're favorites by a pretty decent margin on DraftKings,
about 3-1.
Yeah. And to me, that's like, I don't trust them, Mike. I'll be straight up. If Baylor was amazing last year, the UNC year, you could have argued they could have won, but I trust Roy Williams any day of the week over Mark Few. To me, they're worse than last year, and it's not a knock on them to say they're bad. Chet Holmgren's amazing. They still have a lot of the guys from last year as well. For me, Mike, it's really kind of just down to brass tacks. If we're in March, do I trust Gonzaga? And the answer is no. And I don't think I can trust them. And it's not to say that they can't pull it off, but I'm not going to sit here and be after the tournament's over, and if Gonzaga gets eliminated again and I put more money on Gonzaga, and I'm sitting to myself saying, wow, another tournament goes by in March where we put money on Gonzaga to try and pull it off. Like, at a certain point, are we going to learn a lesson And this could come out to be bad. Maybe this is the year that Gonzaga does end up like pulling it off, but I'm not going to be the one to put my money there and say, yeah, this is the time I'm going for it. There's just certain teams I just don't trust to make a run. And at this point, I've put my faith in Gonzaga as a tournament team enough over the years that I've learned my lesson that I'm not going to bet on them until I see them do it. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to have confidence in Gonzaga winning the national championship until I see them do it. Just like I saw with the Atlanta Braves as well, right? Like, I'm not going to trust in them until the Atlanta Braves actually do it. Same, you could even argue with the Dodgers. Like, how many times are the Dodgers getting deep into the postseason with these great rosters dominating the regular season? And then it comes to crunch time and they're coming up short. I just don't trust teams like that. And that comes down to Mark Few as well. And he's the greatest ever coach to not win a national championship in college basketball. I think it's fair to say at that point. And you know, for me, I stay away from it. Personally, I don't love a singular team in this. I think there's certain teams that have great odds. I know this is a little long-winded, but Purdue is at a great number compared to some of these other teams. Tennessee's good. Villanova, another team that I really trust. Baylor, listen, they lost key players, but to me, I don't know. I've liked Auburn, and some people don't agree with me with that. I kind of just really, I have some more trust with them. I think they're a gritty bunch. Bruce Pearl's been somebody that I kind of respect and admire, and that run that they did kind of felt like they got over the hump last time they were in the tourney like that. So in terms of value, those are some of the teams I like. I still haven't picked a team. I'll be honest. I'll be straight up with you. I keep getting deeper into this tournament, and I don't even overthink like I used to anymore. You know, when you're like, well, I don't know if this is going to go that way, if this team's going to beat that team, and look at their path. But just like some of these teams too, with their paths, like on the West, in the West, excuse me, like Gonzaga's there, Duke's there. Like, do you want me to get into Duke just yet, or do you want me to wait on that? Because
let's wait a little bit. I want to go specifically.
Okay.
Some things. We'll get to like the props and in terms of like the futures and the whatnot
Sure.
here. So I think in general, the thing I look at here is I'm like right now I'm with you. Like I've not really gone through the whole thing yet. I'm really to take some time, do some research, and before I make my picks, I'll probably work on that tomorrow. But I think what I look at right now is I'm looking at the first round game specifically. I'm looking for the upsets here. Especially now in New York, the big deal is we have the actual like live sports betting here. I think like I'm looking for my spread at the point spreads here and seeing where the odds say these games are going to be tight. That's the reason I look for the upsets. I'll throw a couple examples out here. I mean, Michigan as an 11 seed is favor over Colorado State is the 6. Providence is the 4 is only laying 2 against South Dakota State, the 13 seed in their region here. I mean, stuff like that, stuff I always look out for.
Yeah, Michigan's got 2.5. Like what? Baylor is at, sorry, they're minus 20.5. It's just a couple monitors up, excuse me, while I try and get it out. Yeah, I mean, listen, there's so many things that you could, I agree with the Colorado State angle. Plus, you're saying you're leaning 2.5.
I'm leaning Michigan. I think Michigan can win that game outright, so I might as well just lay the 2.5 points.
Yeah. I mean, that's not. I think it's a really good money line number. I think I'd rather have the money line over the spread, just because spreads are so weird, and it's a really small number too. That's like, to me, I love money line parlays with minus numbers in the hundreds. I always do that. I get a lot of crap for it, but I think it's just always something. If you're so confident in it, I go with that. Spreads are too volatile. Like, would you buy half a point with, to even go to 2, or even if you're that confident in Michigan winning outright, would you go to 3, minus 3? I think those are, if they have those options yet. Because sometimes with these books, they don't. Okay, yeah. So look, winning margins are perfect, right?
Yeah.
Wait, really? So how about this? The winning margin for Michigan, if they barely win, right? If you're going like to 2 on a spread, you get stuff like winning margins at plus 1,100 for Michigan.
Yeah,
that's insane, right? And even if you say, oh, okay, yeah, they win by a decent amount, 3 to 6 points, that's a pretty decent amount of points, and that's at plus 350. I like looking at winning margins a good amount as well. And to me, I think that's kind of where I look at it instead of spreads, because it kind of hits a combination of both the money line and the spread in there. And that brings greater value across the board, and it's not as hard to predict. I mean, it is, but to me, in between the years, I think it's easier. I don't know. Spreads, dude. It's a pain in the ass. I'll be quite honest with you. Like these numbers all around.
Now, what I was saying is more the fact that like I look at where the spreads are tight in terms of like that's how I'm going to look to where my upset should be. That's the strategy I use.
Like, dude, Murray State, San Francisco. It's a 1. Like it's 1 point on the spread. Like I'm not touching that. I'm sorry. I'm just not doing games like that. To me that like, I never want to go anyway. If I don't have a concrete opinion on a team winning, I'm just not going to do it. Like Cal State plus 18.5, I would do that.
Yeah.
No joke. Duke is, I know we're going to wait to get into them, but that right there, out of all the massive numbers across the board, I think Cal State, 18.5 is so much for Duke. Duke is just not that type of team recently that they're doing that. Because when things are just not going their way, you see it spiral out of control. And that's just something I can't trust. Yeah, with a team like that.
I think one strategy I'm going to do this year for sure is like what I'm looking at in terms of like if I have a couple of upsets that I like, that I have strong convictions on the game, I'm going to try and just parlay a few of them together here and just see if I can boost my payout here. Get like 3 or 4 of them in a play here and think that I feel, for example, I feel good about obviously Michigan. I feel good about South Dakota State over Providence. I feel good about Davidson over Michigan State. If I can parlay a couple of those together, I feel pretty good.
Well, so you're not even backing your boys then, I guess, huh?
They're not winning a game this year. I'm telling you that for a fact.
Really?
Yes.
Really? That confident in it? I mean, I get it. It's just, look, yeah, I mean, listen, Nova, say you go with Nova minus 15.5, and oops, I clicked Duke by accident. But you go Cal State, plus 18.5. That's plus 264. And if you were to even, like you're saying Davidson outright, all of a sudden you add it to that, you're at plus 647. I think the toughest one out of all those is really Michigan.
Yeah.
Because I really fully believe where Duke is with Cal State. Like looking at some of these not out of conference games, they're playing nobody teams that we played, and some of the others are, they were close matches. It's funny, like you see them beat Gonzaga by 3 points, and then like some of these others are incredibly close for no reason at all. And this is like, I've seen enough Duke teams over the course of my life to know the direction this is going in. At the start of the year, you think they're that type of team that's going to win the title. And then you see the rest of the season play out, and you see the way they play come conference tournament time, and in some of the biggest moments that are high pressure, high leverage, not high leverage, high pressure, high intensity moments, like, Coach K's final night, ACC tournament championship. Like, nah, man, to me, that's not it. That's not it. Like in a number like that, in a sport where the intensity is so hard and teams always play up to Duke, man, no matter what. Like there's no other team in the country that would be ranked 8th and an unranked team beats them on their home court and the fans storm the court. That doesn't happen anywhere else. Maybe 1 or 2 other programs that happens to, but everyone only storms the court when you're the number 1 ranked team. For me, that's kind of what I look at with Duke, because Coach K is not that great of a coach anymore at all. And obviously this is like one of his last games. So yeah, I mean, again, might sound incredibly negative, but usually kind of spot on with the way Duke plays out in this. I know, man, this stuff sucks.
Yeah, I've
never been so lost.
Yeah, let's look at some of the upsets here. Do you have any upset picks you like right now?
First, as far as first round goes?
First round.
I mean, Miami USC is something I look at. Like this is like classic overthinking from me, by the way. Rutgers, Notre Dame, I guess that really just depends on the winner there. I don't like Bama. Straight up, don't like Bama. I think Bama is a 6 seed. I could easily see them out of that whole bracket over there on that side. I think I probably would pick them in the West as the one team to lose in that first round. And I know you're just saying with Davidson, Michigan State, but man, we saw Bama firsthand as Iona fans, and I've seen them across the season. Dude, there's just not like a 6. If you told me Bama's a 6 seed after watching everything I've seen from them, I'd tell you hell no, and I would back away from them. I really do think they're that type of team that would be able to lose that. But again, that's all contingent on what Rutgers or Notre Dame comes down to. Because if it's Notre Dame, Bama, I think Bama wins. But I like Rutgers over that because Rutgers is battle tested, and they've had some really impressive wins this season. Whereas Notre Dame, I don't know. I think that's just an ACC strength of schedule type thing in conference that makes them look better than what they are. I don't think they're that type of team that's going to beat Bama.
Yeah, I mean, Troy and I talked about Bama earlier in the podcast. I mean, thinking about them, you see what they've done this year. I mean, they have really high highs, really low lows. I mean, they beat 2 number 1 seeds in this field this year. They beat Gonzaga and they beat Baylor. And they lost to our team. They lost to Missouri. They lost to Georgia. They lost to Vanderbilt in the conference tournament. Like, pour a drink out if you're trying to figure out what to do with Alabama.
Dude, like the first ever team to lose to the MAC as a top 10 ranked team in the country. Alabama. And they're beating Gonzaga too at the same time. Yeah. Exactly why I'm off on the Zags as well. Another perfect reason. I mean, that's where I would lean. I just don't. I guess Michigan. I guess is that the one for you? 11/6 is pretty substantial upset though. Right?
Yeah. I have a couple I love right now. I love South Dakota State over Providence because Providence plays a lot of close games, and they've been exposed a bit of late. They lost twice to Nova. They had a lot of luck go their way. South Dakota State is a team you like, an upset pick. They score a lot. They score about 86 points a game. They shoot 45% from 3. That's a team I love to take in a spot like this.
High scoring team. Who was oh my god, I'm on Texas Austin. What was the oh my god? Drawing a blank on the team that used to score a ton of points all the time. They were always a sexy pick a few years back. Stephen F. Austin,
Is
that the one?
Yep, and then they did win a game a couple of years ago.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but that was after the point where everyone was like, and it was a little similar to Iona, but Iona was never the offensive like type of team where people are like, oh, a lot of points, and that's the type of direction you go in. But listen, man, 30 wins is a lot. Yep. And Providence, a 4 seed for Providence. I think this tournament's crazy. I think this tournament's absolutely insane. I guess I could see that. I'm genuinely at a loss. I'm genuinely at a loss for words with a lot of these games because we've had a year off from these tournaments. Or actually a couple of years off. So not a couple of years off. We had the 1 year off. To me, it's so circumstantial and it's completely different than it's ever been.
I don't know, man. It's the first real tournament in 3 years because last 2020 there's obviously no tournament. 2021 was all in a bubble in Indianapolis. Nobody had to travel after they showed up in Indy. Now you're going all across the country again. You have fans in the buildings everywhere. It's back to real tournament feel. And I'll throw other 2 out here I like besides the Davidson one here. I'm going to say Chattanooga over Illinois is one I want to watch because that team is big. They have high major size. They have a former Kansas guy in Silvio D'Souza who can match up with Kofi Coburn. I would not be shocked if they were right in that game. And you saw Virginia Tech this week in Brooklyn. I think they have a good shot to beat Texas. Texas is not great. I think they have a good shot to get to the Sweet 16. I'm not sold on Purdue either.
Yeah, I think Purdue is also another one of those teams that's been near the top recently. Obviously, they're known for their big men, and I think that's massive at certain points with matchups in college basketball because sometimes you watch some of these games and so these teams are really well coached and they got good talent, but then you're just all of a sudden like, can they throw a 7-footer out there? And you're kind of like, nah, they can't. So that kind of is where it stops. But yeah, I mean, I got nothing else in terms of that stuff because again, just at a loss of words for upsets, man. I probably get a better feel for it closer to tournament time,
Yeah, let's take a look here at some of the other future bets here. They have, I think, good value. People don't make enough picks on here is to make the Final Four. Without the New York teams, means you get the whole field minus Colgate, so that's not a bad situation there. But I think the value in here, I think getting Kansas at plus money out of the Midwest region when they have a 2, a 3, and a 4 who are all slumping down the stretch in Auburn, Wisconsin, and Providence, and Iowa, which is the hot team, but they've never done anything in March under Fran McCaffrey. I think getting them plus 160 there, I think is great value to jump on it.
I don't love a single team besides Auburn from there.
Yeah.
And obviously outside of like Kansas. And Kansas is like either they have a team that easily gets to the Final Four and then chokes, or they're kind of that Sweet 16 or Elite 8 exit. I think I out of all like the plus money to make it to the Final Four, I guess I would honestly go with Kentucky. Kentucky is a tough region, but listen, man, I think Cal gets a little too much flack for how some of these things go. He is fantastic at getting to the Final Four. He's a great tournament coach. It's just the one championship, everyone's just kind of like, well, you should have more considering the types of talents you've had walk through the door in the past decade or so. I think Kentucky, I'm obviously a fan of Auburn, like I said. So if that's something you'd go with, I'd go with that. Listen, again, Gonzaga, why would you touch that, by the way?
Yeah.
What's the point? What?
Yeah.
That's it. And that's not even low 100s. That's
yeah.
a minus 160 is a lot.
Yeah. That's what I'd stay away from, because I think the thing that's scary for Gonzaga is that you have Texas Tech in that region who plays phenomenal defense. And I know that they have trouble putting the ball in the basket at times, but like that's a team that we saw Gonzaga struggle with St. Mary's twice down the stretch. St. Mary's is a great defensive team. So I would not be putting the minus 160 on Gonzaga making the Final Four. I think that's a very risky bet.
I think that's the riskiest out of all the futures bets.
Yeah.
But I mean, relative to what you could potentially be losing. And I mean, so to make the Final Four in your region winner is, I mean, let's look at that. I mean, these are very similar numbers, which is kind of funny. So like looking at that kind of stuff. So you got Kentucky at plus 200.
Yeah, they're the same. They're the same numbers.
It's so silly to me.
Yeah.
It's so silly. What's the difference at that? Well, there's only 3 regions so far that are up.
Yeah, they didn't put the Midwest up because I don't know what the holdup is on that one, but that's Kansas's pods. I don't know what they're waiting on there.
Yeah, I mean, I guess maybe it just looks easier on the eyes when you go and play some of these, because there isn't a massive list. Look, man, I mean, I don't know. I mean, who are the ones that you liked, you said again?
I love Kansas getting out of their region plus 160.
Right.
I think that's a fantastic bet. And make the Final Four.
What about Purdue's not bad at plus 450. I feel like that's pretty decent. I know there's like the other tough ones, but
the thing with Purdue that scares me is that they do not play like a defense, and that's a big problem when some of the teams in the group.
Turns out. Yeah, but I feel like out of all the high rankings, I mean, Tennessee, man, I'll tell you what, if there was ever a team that I think got jobbed out of a good seed, and maybe it was for the benefit of them, because Duke's in a tougher spot, right? Because everyone's like, Duke should have been a 3. And I'm like, I'm not disagreeing with you guys. Losing at home to your rival by double digits, losing a ACC conference championship game by double digits. I mean, that doesn't scream a 2 seed to me. That's a 3 seed, and what Tennessee was able to do for the first time in a while. And again, the region, I respect some of these teams in here. Is Arizona that good to you?
Arizona is a damn good team.
You think they're that good that like you're without a shadow of a doubt taking them to go to the Final Four? Is that for you?
The one thing I would say is that these teams, they did play at Tennessee this season and lost. So there is something in the back of their minds there in terms of like they played them there in December and Tennessee won the game. So it is worth noting that they're in the same region.
Mm-hmm. And there obviously is that path there where Noah could line up with them. And Tennessee, like you beat Longwood. I don't think Michigan or Colorado State or anything of anything to scare me off from Tennessee getting to the Sweet 16. So, yeah, I think Tennessee might, honestly, I think I like Tennessee out of all these. what about UCLA? For me, UCLA, they're gonna like going back to back, like that deep in the tournament. Do you see that happening?
Well, to me, it's funny. I do have a future on them for a while ago, about plus 5,000 and winning the national championship. So I've been holding on to that ticket to see if they come through. But I don't like the way they played down the stretch. For me, it looked like there's too much of like we're gonna kind of flip the switch. We're kind of coasting through the season. And I think their second round match against St. Mary's will be a big problem because St. Mary's likes to slow you down. They like to play low pace, play a ton of defense. That's not the way UCLA likes to play. So that's something I could see them being picked off the second round.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, I have nothing left to add on that part. So you go with that.
Yeah, I'm also going to throw one more game line out here. I think it's going to be interesting because I'm trying to find the LSU Iowa State game. I don't know what day it's on.
Let me scroll down for you. LSU Iowa State. You said?
I found it right here. It's LSU -4 on Friday night against Iowa State, and I feel like the public's going to be all over Iowa State because LSU has fired their coach. I'm going to be on the side of LSU here because to me, like, that team is still damn good. Iowa State cannot score worth a damn. They really fell apart down the stretch in the Big 12. I think this is a little circle the wagons one for the players here. I think LSU is going to be a better bet than people realize for that first round.
I don't know, man. I mean, it's hard enough to pick them in the bracket, but with some of these numbers, I can't. God bless you, bro. Like I can't. For me, if I'm not confident as a bettor, and this is just like a general thing, I'm not going to do something.
Yeah, like that one I am very confident in because I've watched Iowa State down the stretch. They are not. I feel like that's gonna be a spot where that line gets like pushed closer as the game gets like closer to tip off.
Where do you think that goes to?
I think you might be down at 2.5 by the time it tips.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Because the LSU has fired their coach. I'm sure there's a lot of public sentiment saying, "Oh, they're not going to be motivated." Iowa State.
I mean, they're pretty high up on the money, like the money line discrepancy, like -190, and the spread's at 4.
Yeah.
If that dips, I mean, would you bother again with the spread? So you're doing a very similar thing to what you were saying earlier with Michigan.
Yeah.
If they're that close on the spread, I'm just gonna take that. If you're gonna think they're gonna win outright, I get it.
Yeah. I think the last thing I want to look at here is obviously we can go to the winner spot here in terms of Gonzaga is top of the board here, +300, Arizona +650, Kentucky +800, Kansas +850. That's your 4 best values here, and they're clearly the picks that the books think are going to the Final Four here. Aside from those 4, like, is there a team further down the list that has you interested?
Prior to the debacle against UNC, it would have been Duke. I thought Duke came off as disrespected with anything that was over a +1,000. Yeah. I honestly did at that point because let's face it. Like, I mean, I don't think if this was Coach K coaching 10 years ago, right? Easily, that's the value pick. There's like no conversation there. They have everything that it takes to win the national championship. The talent is there. They're as deep of a team. They could play defense from time to time, but they were abysmal in that ACC tournament with defense. Even if you're winning a couple games, Syracuse with Buddy Boeheim and friggin' Joe Girard, who's one of the biggest college busts I've ever seen, right? I mean, seriously, has there ever been a guy more hyped up that didn't live up to it? Maybe Jellyfam, Isaiah Washington when he went to Minnesota. Oh my goodness. But to see that go down, I think there's kind of one thing. I think there was so much bust potential when it came to Duke losing against UNC. Such a letdown spot. There's a lot of pressure with that. And then Virginia Tech was just on a heater, man. I mean, the way they were turning it around, and they were even talking in the broadcast, you start out 2-7 in the conference and you turn it around like that. I mean, sometimes teams are just insanely hot, and that's what March is about. To me, it's like Duke could not have looked colder down the stretch. And my thing is this: how does Paolo Banchero do? Because it's all on him. I don't think there's anyone else within that team that I'm kind of like, oh, this guy has to play great in order for them to win. It's really just on him at this point. And it's not even to put that kind of pressure like that. And AJ Griffin, I guess you could say as well, who's a local Westchester kid. So it's always great to see him thrive. If he's scoring the basketball great and Paolo is being a great distributor, Duke can beat anyone in the country. We've seen it, right? Like they took it to UNC on the road. Gonzaga had lost to them when they were number 1 overall. And again, there was a week. What week was it? It was a few weeks ago. It was definitely in February, right? Where we see all these top 10 teams lose at the same time.
Yeah, it was the last Saturday in February. Top 6 all lost, 7 of the top 10.
Think about that. And you have to take that into account when you're looking at these futures, right? Because to me, that's again why I was saying I don't like any of these teams for sure to win something. Like, why would you? If we could see a week where we see so many number ones lose, we see so many top 10 teams lose in the same week when they don't even have crazy matchups, right? For me, how could you trust somebody? So if you were to tell me you're going with a team outside of that, out of the thousands, like, why not? Like, why are we going to play it safe in the craziest tournament to ever exist? Not like literally the 2022 March Madness, just March Madness as a whole. Because we could sit here, we could be confident as a pick, but what it really comes down to, it's any given Thursday or Friday. That's what it is. Because if one guy shows up incredibly hot, then it happens. Because remember the last time we saw a normal tournament, Mike?
Yep.
A 16 beat a 1.
Yeah.
By double digits. And that's saying something. I'm not saying that's going to happen again because that was the first time ever, but I just want to say this, like and I've been guilty of this, bet with your knowledge of the sport. Don't bet by what you see as the numbers, because you're way better off placing bets when you're going off of your gut and your knowledge, as opposed to, well, the bookies are moving this line and this number is a little odd here. And I know that kind of contradicts what I said earlier with Gonzaga, but still Gonzaga to make the Final Four at -160 is a stupid bet. It's not worth it. I don't think anyone should be placing that bet unless you got Mattress Mac money or you're like, I'm going ahead and chopping $5 million on it. But even then, that would be incredibly dumb. So, yeah, I don't know. For me, I was like, that's just the assessment on Duke. I guess it would have to be Tennessee.
Yeah, Tennessee plus 1,400. I like that number there. UCLA, the talent base is there, plus 1,800 if you like. Because I think the East region, I think there's good value there because I don't think Baylor's getting out of it. And Kentucky plus 8, UCLA plus 1,800. I will throw out Texas Tech plus 2,200 as one I like as a sleeper shot there.
Yeah, and then you have to also go off of your ticket that you had, the plus 5,000 too. So, I mean, that matters for you. Have they offered you a cash out?
They have offered cash outs from here for a while, so I haven't decided I'm going to take it yet for the tournament. I have an Auburn one I might cash out. I'm not bullish on them.
So if you're not, I think you just do it.
Yeah.
I think you just do it. Like before anything happens where you got cold feet, and I get a lot of crap sometimes for cash out. I'm a big cash out guy because for me, if I'm placing something and I made a profit, it's like, who's going to judge you? Who cares? Yeah. Why would you allow it to come down to a certain point where you could lose everything? If you make a profit and it's on something like a plus 5,000, take it. Yeah. And you could do what you want. For me, that's the way I look at it, because at that point, I'm kind of looking at, I didn't hit a plus 5,000 bet, but good Lord, like if I would have just taken some of the money, I at least cash on plus 5,000 and the bet didn't even like go to the full extent of it, where UCLA is winning a national championship for the first time since the 90s. So, yeah, I mean, I would definitely consider that, because then you could just take some of that money and put it back in. So
yeah, I'll also give a piece of advice to listeners who are signing up for the sports for the first time. Like, watch your promos, because these books always have something going on to get you involved. And like, for example, I opted in today on DraftKings to a odds boost to get the Gonzaga money line, which is normally minus 10,000 the first time, out to plus 100 against Georgia State. So I did that, dropped my 50. I'm anticipating doubling up unless something goes very, very wrong for Gonzaga or stuff like that. Watch for.
Yeah, I mean, always those boosts and stuff like that. DraftKings does a pretty good job of giving you random like same game parlay boosts and stuff like that. that you just mentioned. So always just look at things. And live betting March Madness is going to be amazing, by the way.
Yeah.
So like, dude, yes. That's probably what I'm most excited about.
Yeah, you're excited. You're excited for Thursday afternoon when you can have 4 games on and you can be live betting all of them.
Oh my God, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking about it right now because I don't live bet too many things. I live bet games that I watch, obviously. Unless it's like a Mets game, if I'm out, I'll be like, you know what? They're up 2 runs and Familia's coming on, and you know Edwin Diaz is there. Let's just go in and do that. But yeah, I don't think I have anything else left to say with that. I just, take your cash out opportunities when you can. Final 4 bets are incredibly valuable over, winning a future bet on the national champion, because the national champion in college basketball is the hardest thing I've ever had to bet on future wise in my life. And it's miserable.
Yeah.
Almost every time.
Final 4 is 2 less steps you have to worry about. That's a big advantage.
Dude, 2 less steps. Yeah. I mean, that's a lot. That's a lot. The amount that the number moves to, and man, you're talking about, dude, so many games. It's a lot of games. And it's also predicated on the fact that you're getting the other games right? You know what I mean? Like, you're making an assumption that Memphis beats Boise State and Memphis and Gonzaga matchup, and you love the Gonzaga matchup. But if you're like, oh, well, Boise State's actually a better matchup against, this is just a hypothetical. So like, oh yeah, Boise State's more of a nightmare matchup towards Gonzaga, but I think Memphis is a nightmare matchup for Boise State. But somehow Boise State gets through when they face Gonzaga. Next thing you know, Boise State upsets Gonzaga. You know what I'm saying? Like kind of scenarios like that. That's the difficulty in all of this. And good Lord, I might just do the bracket where I flip a coin. I did that one time, and it actually worked out better than the one that I try to honestly fill out myself. So yeah.
Yeah, and before we go, I know you are a Jet fan. I do have some breaking news here. Came on the podcast. The Jets have added another player, tight end CJ Uzama, 3 years, $24 million. So the early focus of the Jets is offense, their free agent moves.
Only tells you one thing, an edge is coming at number 4, because how is it not? Yeah. Right? I mean,
an edge or a corner, because I could see them being in the Sauce Gardner market.
You think they're going to do that at 4? I don't know. It's just for me, the way like Joe Douglas has been drafting and building this team, it's interior. It's the trenches. I know, and obviously edge is edge. It's not literally trenches, but at the same time, it kind of is. I see them doing that, man. Yeah. I have a question for you, though. Oh, wait, did you answer it already earlier today in the chat, or no?
Well, I said, I did answer it in the chat. I was saying if Kayvon Thibodeau makes it, the Jets think they're taking him.
Yeah. And I think that's highly likely, because also corresponding to the Jags moves today, they're going to go with Hutchinson.
Yes.
Right? Like I don't see that happening. But listen, I trade number 10 for DK. I hope that would be cool. I mean, Uzama. Listen, man, that's probably the best tight end we've had in a decade. Is it probably? It's a definite.
Yeah, absolutely. And Martino, thanks for all the time. I really appreciate it. Before I let you go, I'll give you a follow social media, keep up some of the stuff you're doing.
Yeah, just follow me on Twitter at Martino Puccio. And then a bunch of proper football stuff is where I work for a big Jets guy, Gary V, who hopefully hopes to own the New York Jets one day. That's a big game. If you're a Jets fan and you don't know who he is, that's probably a shocking thing. But yeah, just at PF 1:37 p.m. You could follow us at 1:37 p.m. We're doing an office pool. We'll see how I do in that one. There's some big fans over there. There's not many Duke fans. I think I'm on the outside looking in, but they're big Grayson Allen guys, so I'm not as hated over there because of that fandom. But yeah, it's just a bunch of proper football stuff. I'm obviously doing more things. I'm really excited for this Mets season. Still need to add more. I know I hate to bring up the Mets and all that stuff for you, but again, it's what the podcast, and we always do this towards the end whenever we're not talking them. Got to get another bat and a relief pitcher, because it's not enough with what the Braves have so far. I'll just be straight up with you. I think right now it's the ceiling is a wild card team. I don't know if you disagree with that or not. I have a lot of respect for the Braves and what they were able to pull off. I don't really see how the Mets are better than that at this point, even with the great staff. So like you take out the staff and we're kind of looking at a lineup that's good, but every time we think the Mets are not going to be as bad as they were as certain areas in offense, they end up being worse. When they were like terrible with runners in scoring position for a couple of years, it's like there's no way these guys are going to suck at it again, and they do. And like last year, there's no way they're going to underperform all these guys again, and they did. So the more, the better. So Schwarber and Chafin are my guys, former Cubbies. So yeah.
Yeah, and that's a fun season indeed to watch. So Martino, thanks all the time. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, Mike.